Hello everyone, and thank you very much for watching. This is me, Mr. P, and welcome back to another episode of Proxmox Home Server series. In this video, I will show you how you can create users for your Proxmox server, how to give them access to a specific VM or LXC container, and how to restrict their role over that LXC container or VM. So let's begin. The idea for this video is quite simple. Let's say you have a friend, Billy, and he wants to learn Linux. He wants to go and start messing around with Linux, but he don't want to go install Linux on his laptop or computer. And if he goes and he does something wrong, he will have to go and basically waste 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour to reinstalling everything. Maybe he doesn't know how to install Linux. So you want to help him out to start the Linux journey by hosting a Linux VM or Linux LXC container and grant him access to your Proxmox server and give him role over that LXC container where he will be able to use it, restart, shut down, start from zero, snapshots, backups, etc., etc. Before actually going any further into this video, I want to mention that what I'm about to show you will work regardless if you're using Proxmox single node or, as I'm doing in this video, Proxmox cluster. Setup process is going to be exactly the same regardless if it's one node or cluster. First of all, we need to create a user with a password for Billy. To create a user, you need to click on a data center and then look for options inside this list of options. Look for option inside list of options and look for permissions. If you click on a triangle, you will see more sub options showing up. Users is where you will create users for your friends, for your family members, colleagues, etc. You can create API tokens if somebody wants to connect to your server via API. You can set up 2FA, so you can go and set up one of these 4 options. Groups, you can create groups of users. So if you could deploying Proxmox inside a work environment, a production environment, you can create a group, for example, junior IT, etc. Let's say you deploying Proxmox server inside your IT class in school. So you can create a group, let's say first grade, second grade, high grade students, and then you can give overall permission depending on the group that they are in. Pools is where you give them resources, and roles, this is where the Proxmox right now showing the pre-configured, pre-installed roles, and realms right now is showing 2 realms. There is a PAM and realm and PVE realm. Linux PAM realm is like login authentication happens at the Linux kernel level. So Linux decides if you are okay to log in, yes or no, and checks your user credentials. Where Proxmox VE is a Proxmox web GUI, checks the login credentials and allows you to log in. And this is where we're going to add Billy. We're going to add Billy inside the Proxmox VE. You as a root, as you can see at the top right hand corner, it says root add PAM. So let's create a user. If I'm going to click on users, click add, and I need to fill up this information. I'm going to click Billy. I'll give a username Billy. By default, I do believe yours going to say Linux PAM. Mine says Proxmox VE because I already used this window, so it's remembered my previous option. You need to make sure that under realms, Proxmox VE is selected. Give it a simple password or give a strong, complicated password for the user is up to you. This is where you assign the groups or add the group. So if a Billy belongs to a first grade students, and there is a group says first grade, you just select that and that is it. When to expire this account? Never. Account is enabled. You can fill up the rest information for first name, last name, and email. Comment, you can say test user, for example. And key IDs, I never use this. To be honest, I don't know what this does. I still will leave a link in the description below to a full Proxmox Wikipedia page with all the stuff that Proxmox does. And if you want to dive deep into a Proxmox, that's the link you need to follow. So I'm creating a user, username Billy, and then password, etc. Test user, add. So right now Billy is created. If you setting up a Proxmox cluster or Proxmox node, or regardless if it's Proxmox cluster, Proxmox node, and if you're exposing this Proxmox server to entire internet using, let's say, Nginx Proxy Manager or Cloudflare Tunnel. By the way, I've done a video how to set up Cloudflare Tunnel. I'll leave a link to that video in the description below. You just tell the Billy to go to domain myserver.example.com or something like that, and Billy can access. As I'm using everything inside the local network, Billy needs to enter one of the IP addresses of any of these nodes. And if you're using our Proxmox with a single node, just you let him know the main IP address. So in my case is a local IP address ending with 87. Billy goes to a different page, different computer can be in, doesn't matter how, where he is. If you set up the Proxmox access via domain, he just goes and enters up. So Billy right now goes and enters his username, a password, and if he forgets to change from Linux to PAM to Proxmox VE, he will get the error message saying that connection is not allowed. Login failed. He needs to change that to a Proxmox VE and click login. And that's it. Billy is logged into your server. Because he has no access to any LXC containers or VMs, pretty much what he sees is basic information. Well, not even a basic information. He can see only like 0.0001% of information, what you can actually see as an admin. As you can see, all the information pre-filled, everything is here. Where user with no access, no permissions, he just can see there is a data center, and in my case, there is a free nodes. In your case, if you're using a one single Proxmox node, you're just going to say one node. So right now we need to give Billy access to this LXC Ubuntu container. If I'll go and select the LXC Ubuntu container, I click permissions, click add, and now I can choose what I want to add via groups, API tokens, or in my case, it's going to be users. From a drop down, I will select Billy, and by default, it says no access. If I'll click on this, I can pick one of these options. If I'll select administrator, he pretty much will have access over a lot of your Proxmox server, not exactly the same level as you are, but he will be able to change quite a lot of things. He will be able to amend this LXC container, add more storage, delete storage, amend the networking, DNS settings, etc. We don't want that. We don't want him to give a PV admin access where he can start messing with your pools, storages, etc., etc. We will scroll all the way down past all this PV pool user, PV system defined network users, etc. And we'll select simple PVE VM user. Click add. And that's it. So right now he has access as a PVE user to this LXC container. If he goes back to his computer, this already automatically showed up. If you can't see the option showing up, any of these LXC containers or VMs you assigned, just give about 20 seconds or so. Is depending on the speed of your server, and even more depends if you set up the Proxmox access via domain. It's going to be a caching issue, so just give some time and it's going to show up. So right now, as I logged in as a Billy, as you can see here at the top right hand corner, Billy has option to open a console and just see what's going on inside. So he opens a console. He already knows the access to the LXC container, and he can go and start pinging stuff and do whatever he wants with that. But he can't back up. He can't snapshot. He cannot back up. If he messes up, he's basically will have to contact you and ask you to reinstate the VM to original state, or you will have to go and recreate everything from scratch. We don't want that. We want him to be able to actually use it, like backup and restore. So go back to PVE. Oh, sorry, if I go here, as you can see, there is no options to backup showing up. So if I click on here and click on the PVE users, if I click add again Billy, just to show you demonstration, as a PVE user, he can audit, backup, configure, etc. So backup is showing up. So why he's not allowed to backup? And the reason why, because he has no access to a storage where the backup lives. In your case, this can be NFS, ZFS, Samba. It depends how you set up. In my case, for this demo purpose, the local storage this is where backups are stored. So I need to click on the local storage, permissions, add, user, and then select Billy. And from this drop down, I need to scroll down and look for data store user and click add. And now if I go back to look as a Billy, let's refresh. The local storage showed up on all the nodes because I'm using a Proxmox cluster. In your case, it's just the one gonna show up, and depending on the settings. Billy right now can go and see if there are any backups, VM disks, CT volumes. He can go and pick the ISO files and etc. But he cannot upload. So right now, if I go to LXC container, I have option to backup. Billy can go here, click backup, option shows up, and clicks backup, and it's happening as the storage showing up here, as it's showing up as you can see there. And now he can go and start trying to do a snapshot, but snapshot is not available because the LXC container is not allowing him to do a snapshot. So this is not happening. And the reason why this is not happening is because if I go and do the edit on the storage again, I'm going to do here, but it's to show you this. There is in here an option to allow snapshots. Here we go. PVE VM admin has option to do a snapshot and rollback, but then it gives a lot of more configurations to this user that we don't want to really give him. We don't want to allow Billy to change RAM, networking, and migrate, monitor, power man, like all this. We don't want to grant him access. So we will create our own role. So back on our local permissions, and I will remove Billy from a storage allocation, and under LXC container permissions, I will remove Billy from here. So Billy right now in a second will see nothing at all. He's back to as it was. So now on the data center, I'll go and select roles, create, and give it a name. I'm just going to name it users. And now I can pick everything from this list and make my own unique role. I can pick some from here, a couple of from here, and create my own. So from a top down, I will allow user to allocate space. That means that I'm allowing user to write and read data from the storage that I will assign this role. Then I will scroll down. I'm not going to give anything like this, no system, nothing. I will allow to see the VM. I will allow him to see VM and just audit just to see what he has. And then I'm allowing him to backup, and I'll explain why I'm selecting backup. And a snapshot, power management, snapshot rollback, and a console. So that's what I'm allowing him to do. And I think this is pretty much it. Create. So right now, yours probably going to show like this. It's going to be at the bottom. I just selected built in and order in a different way. So mine's showing up at the top. So data store, allocate space, VM audit, backup, console, power management, snapshot, rollback. I click on a LXC container, add, under permissions, click add and then user permissions, Billy, and I will assign my own role, which is users, add. So let's add it. Let's see what Billy will see. So if he clicks on there, he will be able to see what actual LXC container configuration is. He will be able to see console, resources, what resources you assigned. This is what the VM audit allows him to do. It allows him to see all this. Options, but you can see he can't change nothing. He cannot change DNS, hostname, nothing is, he can't do nothing. And storage not available. So I'm going to click back onto my Proxmox. Local, this is because this is where my backup lives. Add users and select users. And I'm selecting the same role because I combined some of the information from PVE VM users and some from data store user. So instead of having multiple ones selecting, I'm created what I need into one role, which is users. Click add. Now go back to my Billy's browser, refresh. Now as under backup, I do have option, which is local, and snapshots. Billy can go and take a snapshot. By default, the LXC container will not allow you to do snapshot. Don't know why, just not allowing you to do snapshot. It will allow to do that on the VM. That's why the role that I set up, if I go back to my roles under here, as you can see, I have snapshot rollback, and backup, because I don't know what I'm gonna allow users to access. Will they access LXC container or will they access VM? But if you noticed, I can add the snapshot, but I just told you that there is no chance LXC container to be able to take a snapshot. And the reason why I'm allowed to take a snapshot with LXC container is because LXC container disk, if I click on resources, root disk of LXC container lives inside Ceph. If LXC container disk was inside SMB, NFS, or ZFS, it will not work. But because it runs inside Ceph, LXC container snapshots are available. So as an admin and as the user, it's okay for users to take a snapshot, which makes my life much easier because I can go back to data center, roles, users, edit, and I can go and remove backup. I will not allow user to take a backup. I will only allow user to take the snapshot. So backup option is still showing up here. I need to refresh and refresh one more time. Here we go, backup disappeared. And I'm doing that because, yes, let's say your server might have 20 terabytes of storage free. In my cases, I'm only using 8% of 206 gigabytes. But the user that I will give access to this LXC container, he might go berserk and he might just go and set up a lot of things in this LXC container and then start backing up every 5 minutes. And every back will be added to my storage, and in no time, in a week, he's gonna take over like 50% of my storage inside my server, which is not great. And because LXC container is running inside Ceph, this makes my life easier, because user can go just take a snapshot and say about to do bad thing. That's like this. Click snapshot. So Billy logged into my server, created a snapshot. Snapshot is created at today at 20:13. Oh, it's almost 8 p.m. I haven't realized that. Anyway, so Billy goes in, he logs into the server, goes to main folder where all the main file lives, and he read somewhere in Reddit that he needs to type rem space -r space star inside this folder, and this apparently will convert this into Windows. So he runs that. He sees a bunch of things happening. He's like, oh great, I'm about to get Windows 11 running here, without realizing that he ran a command which removed a bunch of stuff. Right now this server of this LXC container is dead, as I can't do basic stuff as a list or update the system. So okay, Billy is not in trouble. He can go here, click on the option and say rollback. And right now this LXC container is just getting rolled back to a state which was almost exactly a minute ago. And by the way, when you're doing a rollback inside the Ceph, the snapshots and rollbacks takes a snapshot as offline mode. That means when you roll back to that from a snapshot, the actual LXC container will be offline. If your LXC container lives, or your VM, you're doing this with VM will allow you to take a snapshot with the RAM configuration. As you can see, include RAM. That means that once the snapshot is done and I roll back to the snapshot, VM will be started automatically at that point when the snapshot was taken, as the VM status will be added into RAM. So let's go back to the Billy's page. Billy just restored from this snapshot. He can go and start, as I gave him a power management role, power management permission over this LXC container, so he can start, shut down. So right now, let's wait for this LXC container to start. If I click on here, LXC container is starting, which is great. And you as an admin, if you click on this LXC container and click on a task history, you can see that the Billy has been busy today. As you can see, Billy connected, tried to do a lot of things. Something happened, something not happened. He basically went and created a snapshot, then went to a console, probably messed up because he's done a rollback. So as you can see, this gives you information as an administrator what the user is doing. Let's go back to Billy's page, and it's still LXC container starting. Yeah, it's taking a bit of a time because the system that I'm using for these videos is not the fastest. Here we go, it's back. So Billy logs in, goes to the same folder, and right now he can have some fresh air because everything is restored. And that is it. So we created the user, in my case is the username Billy, with a custom-made role, users, that gives him access over storage, which means he can allocate the storage. He is allowed to allocate or write into the storage, and he allows to write only snapshots. I'm not allowing user to do backups because I don't want him to overflow or basically overfill my storage with just a random backups. He have access to a power management, VM console, and VM audit. So right now, Billy can connect to my server and go nuts and try all things in here, update, upgrade the system, install new packages. That could be what Billy can see here. This can be anything. This can be Ubuntu desktop, Pop OS, Linux Mint, Windows XP if he wants. I don't know, Windows 98, Windows 11, Windows 10, Mac OS, Fedora, anything that can be self-hosted. You can even self-host a Proxmox inside the Proxmox. So if somebody wants to learn Proxmox things, or you want to test something, you can virtualize a Proxmox inside the Proxmox. And if one of your friends wants to try out with the Proxmox, you can do this as well for him to go and mess around. So that's it. I hope this video is helpful for you. We created the user, we gave him permissions for that user, and we gave him permission to one LXC container for him to use. So hopefully right now Billy is happy and he can go and start learning Linux. I hope this video is helpful, and like always, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.